In this video, I'm going to share with you how I made $149,000 in 1 week with one simple funnel and how it only took 3 hours to build. So first things first, I want to jump in here and just show you the proof. I think that's the most important thing. Whenever someone says some number, I always like to see people backing it up. So here's a screenshot of our numbers. This is actually inside Airtable. We have our own custom data inside there where we track everything. So you can see on here, here's the numbers. So how this came about, I think it's important for you to understand how this funnel kind of first became a thing and where it came from. So quick 1,000-foot overview. Back in 2017 is when I first started running ads, and I went into running a marketing agency. Previously, before that, I was working a sales job selling print and digital ads, and I realized that, hey, instead of just getting 10% of a check, if I could figure out the fulfillment, I could get the whole pie. So I used my last paycheck. I sold some big bowling alley, the biggest deal of my life, and I used all that to invest into coaches and courses and mentors to learn how to do the fulfillment. So once I learned all that, I went all in on the marketing side of stuff, and I built a 7-figure agency. It was good until it wasn't, and that's when 2021 hit, where I hit this crazy burnout phase. At the time, looking back on it, there was a lot of things I was doing wrong. There's things I was doing right, but I had that entrepreneur shiny object syndrome, even when I was running a 7-figure agency. And I see it all the time with people nowadays. But at the time, I was doing this. I was doing consulting on the side. I was doing Airbnbs. I was investing into crypto. I was doing a lot at the time. And, I thought multiple streams of income meant more income. But it wasn't until I was like, all right, I just need to figure this out. I have too much going on. And basically I just led to a burnout where I shut down my 7-figure agency and I didn't get anything out of it. A lot of people sell their agencies and they walk away with stories like that. I'll be honest with you, I didn't. I had a partner at the time and I gave him the rest of what I owned and he was going to take it over and just run it all from there. And the whole thing just crashed and crumbled as soon as I left. But moving on from there, this was probably one of the hardest moments of my life, if I'm being honest with you, but it was one of the most important because it is what led me to where I'm at now, which is coaching full-time. I always wanted to be full-time coaching, a consultant, if you will, but the thing for me, I didn't want to be like one of those people that just comes in and starts coaching something because a coach that coaches coaches. I wanted to have the background to be able to say, hey, I built a business of 7 figures. Here's my data. Now I'm doing it and showing other people how to do it. So that's why I was never really passionate about the agency. We were working with chiropractors. We were working with dentists. We were really big into solar. Stem cell was a really big industry we were into. But I hated it, if I'm being honest with you. I didn't like the clients we were working with, and that's what led me to where I'm at now is where, the type of clients that we work at now, which is what I've always wanted to, is work with people like myself. Here's a image of a mastermind that I hosted, and we had, 30, 40 clients show up, something like that. But anyways, moving on from there. Now, let's just move on to how it actually works. So I'm a big component of simplicity, and you'll see I'll talk more about that here in a second. But this is how the funnel works, is everything is through Instagram. You brand your Instagram into a funnel with a strategy. And basically the way it works, it's very simple. You have your traffic source right here where you have your organic, your reels, your posts, whatever it might be. You have your ads, and then you have other. Other can be like TikToks, X, whatever it might be. Wherever you're getting traffic from, emails, you're pushing everything back to your Instagram. And what we like to do is set up Instagram DM ads with this where people send you a keyword. Now, you don't have to do ads with this. If you already have a big audience, you could just use your audience and have them send you a keyword for some sort of call to action, right? But this is pretty much where it all happens, is like we're getting people to raise their hands every single day rather than us reaching out to people, cold DMing them. We run ads, targeted ads, speaking very specifically to one ideal avatar, and they basically reach out to us saying, hey, I'm interested in more information on this, right? And then it goes to your Instagram profile, and then you have a conversation in the DMs. Now, this is the most important part where a lot of people mess up, is you have to have a good retargeting campaign because all of this is top of funnel, right? Now, if you already have organic or you already have an audience, that would be considered middle of funnel. But Retargeting is what's going to keep people seeing you over and over and over again. And we retarget people for pennies on the dollar. It's really easy and really simple to retarget people. So this is how I get away from not posting content every day, is just by having really good retargeting campaigns. And when you have somebody in the DMs or they come back through the retargeting, you qualify and you ask them to hop on an app. You either send them an application or you qualify them in the DMs. We qualify in the DMs. With this, we have seen the industry, every industry is different, anywhere between a 5 to 20% conversion rate. Anything over 20%, you're balling out. Anything less than 5%, you're not doing it right. Honestly, less than 10% is usually what we tell our clients is like, hey, we need to work on that. 10% is kind of like that magic number that we've seen where most industries, that's where you want to be aiming for. So if you have 100 people that come through here, 10% of those, 10 of them should be qualified and invited to a sales call. Where when you have the sales call, you should have, depending on where you're at with this, me and my company for the last 8 months have had about an 80 to 85% show rate with this. But when people first get started, they're around 60%, depending on how good your setting skills are and everything like that. But from there, basic numbers, 25 to 35% should be closed. We've had months where we've closed 50%. The number I'm sharing with you right here, we were at about a 49% close rate that week. So again, it just really depends on where you're at. Every week, every month's going to be different. The offer breakdown is right now, we have a couple different offers, but the main ones you really just need to know of, like that we're selling here. In fact, all of those sold in that week were just Accelerator. Now we had reoccurring coming through as well too from people on payment plans, but this is how we price our strategy. So we have the Accelerator at the time of this video, it's 10K. And we have the Elite, which is a 30K plus program. Now, when we were selling this, no one was able to just go into Elite. In fact, we pushed 95% of people to Accelerator first, so they get the basics of what we do. And then once they have Accelerator done, then they go into Elite. Elite, I can probably create a whole nother video on having a back-end offer if you guys like. Just let me know down in the comments. I think this is something where if you do it wrong, it can really ruin your entire business. And I spent a lot of time, a lot of money investing in mentors, just figuring out how to build the right type of offer on the back end. As crazy as that sounds, but it's one of those things where if you build a back end offer too early, it can ruin your entire business. And in fact, I recommend most people don't build a back end offer until you're doing 100K a month consistently. We didn't. The next thing, so the Accelerator offer is just breaking this down for you, is we basically help coaches and info products and personal brands online scale. And what we say is we will guarantee you will make your money back within 90 days, or we work with you one-on-one until you do. I don't like having the money back guarantee side of stuff. If I'm being honest with you guys, I see a lot of people doing that. And I think it serves its purpose, but it attracts the wrong type of people. If I'm just, from what I've noticed, like for me, if I'm going to join a program, when someone says, oh, it's a money back guarantee, it's like, it's almost seems like it's speaking more to the newbie side of stuff. That's just me. And that's why we go this route. And if I'm being honest with you, we've only had to use this with one person out of over 2,000 clients. And the one person, very cool guy. It's just like there was an English to Spanish barrier, but we still fulfilled on it and he made his money back after. So that's why we have this offer. Just like, if you just listen to what it works. But I think the importance behind this is everybody should have some sort of guarantee where it gives them some sort of like comfort of like, okay, well, if I pay you and it's 4 months into here and I don't have my results, then what? You guys just kick me to the wall? What is it? So that's why we have this is like, hey, you're going to make your money back. And if you do it right, you're going to have a predictable client acquisition system that you can use over and over and over and over again. Because, the whole point is you pay the 10K, you make the 10K back, and then from there, you run ads and have a 80% profit margin if you're a one-person team, right? Whatever it might be. So that's basically the breakdown. If you have any questions on the breakdown, just let me know in the comments. I will personally just respond myself. Some mistakes I want you to avoid, or at least share with you, so you don't you don't hit the same mistakes I personally made. So inside my company, we have a value called simple scales, complex fails. And I have to constantly remind myself and my team about this because, at the end of the day, we're humans. But when I first built this company and I built this funnel, the one that I'm showing you right there, it was built off of simplicity. I thought to myself, what is the most simplest funnel I could possibly build that I can remove myself from and then start teaching other people how to do it? And that was a very important part. When I taught other people how to do it, I want it to be so simple that it'd be almost impossible for them to fail. So that's where we came up with this sort of funnel, and we call it the social growth funnel. But it came from the idea of simple scales, complex fails. So if you're ever going through anything in your business or life in general, just think about how you can simplify it. That's always worked really well for me. The next thing I would say, and I've seen this happen with a lot of people, I made this mistake before too, is perfect one client acquisition source first and then move on. You only need one client acquisition source to be hitting 100K months, right? And that's the other thing that comes into play is you only need one offer. I don't know why it says 10, that should say 2. One offer to hit 100K months as well. People think, oh, I need 5 different offers. I need 5 different client acquisition sources. You don't. That's the last thing you honestly need. You just need a simple way to get there, and this is the most simple way. So if you want to hit 100K months, have one offer in one industry, speaking to one avatar with one client acquisition source, and you will get there. The next thing is, can you hit 100K plus weeks consistently with a small team? I think it's doubtful. I've seen people do it. I think like the big thing that I've seen is people do this in a week, but then not maintain it. We've maintained this pretty consistently. And the reason I say doubtful is because of fulfillment. Something to also be aware of is like when you're buying into a company, if it's, and this is why I don't do it anymore, is like if the one person's doing all the fulfillment and they're promising big numbers or they're promising a goal that I want and they're doing all the fulfillment, they're doing all the sales, I don't believe that type of stuff. I don't believe you have enough time in the day to accurately, like imagine if you had 100 active clients and you were doing all the sales calls and you were doing all the fulfillment. There's no way you'd have time for the fulfillment side of stuff unless you completely automated the entire coaching and fulfillment side of stuff. But like when people buy into programs, that's not what they're wanting, right? So like I see people saying, well, you could do $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a month all by yourself. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I mean, you could, but it's not a business that's going to last. And in fact, you're going to piss off a lot of clients and you're going to really ruin your reputation. So like when I say, can you hit 100K plus weeks consistently? You can do anything you want. I just would stay away from it because you're going to have a fulfillment issue. And that's the last thing you want is start scaling and having a fulfillment issue. The next thing is keep margin in line. It took me a while to understand like how to keep margin, the right type of margin in a company. I'll be honest with you, there was 100K months that we hit and I was like, where's all this money going? And that's one of the things where eventually I just got so pissed off with it that I just started reading books, talking to more mentors and figuring out how to figure out the right type of margin because it's something I just feel like most people don't talk about in this space. I actually did release a video on it recently. So if you want to go check that out, you can. But like margin is the most important thing where a lot of people don't really think about it, especially when you're like at that 10K a month mark. You're like, oh, I just want to hit 50. I just want to hit 100. I'll figure out margin after. Trust me, you want to figure it out before. So for me, like I didn't scale past 100K a month purposely for a while because I wanted to get margin dialed in. I didn't want to be that company that scaled to 100K weeks like this and then not make any money out of it and just have a big team. No. So like I was stuck at 100K a month. Well, not stuck. I was in between like 100 and 130-ish a month for probably like 4 to 5 months before we really scaled. It was like getting the fulfillment dialed in, getting the sales dialed in, but then also making sure the margin was dialed in. So just make sure before you scale, you have your margin in line. Next thing is systems over hustle. I personally don't like it when people just go hustle, hustle, hustle. Like I get it. That's how I built my business at first. But it's not sustainable. You need a system that can sustain what you're trying to do. Like for me, as I'm recording this video, I'm about to head to Europe for 3 weeks. And when I'm in Europe for 3 weeks, I'm probably only going to be taking like 3 to 4 calls, if that. And that's because I have a system to do this rather than me hustling on my phone all day, every day while I'm in Europe, trying to close deals. I have a full team. I have a full system that's going to be doing that. And that's when I see people are like, yeah, I'm doing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. But then I look at them and they're like the only person on their team. And everywhere you see them, they're always on their phone. They're always trying to close a deal. They're always doing fulfillment. It's like, dude, that's not a life that I want to live. Maybe you do, But me personally, like, I got into this space for freedom, not to the hustle till I'm 80 years old. Like, I want to enjoy my life, right? Like, I want to go to Europe and just enjoy myself, right? So that's why I say systems over hustle. The next is, and what I'll leave you with, is build something so simple it works without you. Then you'll know you've won. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys found value. If you did, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and let me know in the comments what you'd like in the future.